Welcome to Mellow in Japan. I'm Mellow, and this is another episode of Writing with Mellow. So today I want to make a little comparison about cost of living in Japan and United States and America. I've been living, if you see my other videos, I've been living in America for almost 14 years, and now I live in Japan for almost a little more than 4. So I would like to talk about salaries and cost of life, the prices of things here and there, and give you guys a little idea how different it is. So of course, to salaries to work in Japan, of course, it must be legal. You must be a student with a visa uh, or have a working visa. In my case, my wife, her father was Japanese citizen, so we are eligible to get a working visa in Japan. So in Japan it's impossible to work illegal, it's not like America. A lot of people go there as a tourist and just overstay their visas and work. Like many people do it, millions of people do that. So in America there's this little difference, but in Japan, forget it. There's no way to do anything like that. Nobody's gonna hire you at all. Right? For years I never met an illegal person here, ever. So so salaries, in America, the minimum salary, $7.50 an hour. Been like that for a while. Even now the prices went up. It's more than due to raise. And of course, most people I'm talking about people average, people who doesn't have like a degree or average salaries, just to have an idea. So normally people in America, they make $9, $12 an hour in average, if you don't have a lot of qualifications, of course. So normally people make anything between $1,500 a month to $2,500 a month in average, no more than that. And it's more than that, of course, if you have, for example, a trucker. But if you drive a small truck, you're gonna make $2,000 to $3,000 a month. I always say, if you're gonna be a trucker, you gotta go big. You drive a big truck, you're probably gonna make anything from $3,000 to $5,000 a month, even more than that, of course, depending on the kind of truck you're gonna drive. But average $3,000 to $5,000, and $2,000 to $3,000 if it's a small truck. So salaries vary pretty much from $1,500 to $5,000. Pretty much, most people make that much money. Of course, a lot of people with different qualifications make a lot more than that. So, talking about like regular work, Now Japan's a little different. Japan, the minimum salary, it varies by prefecture. Prefectures are pretty much similar to counties in America and England. So they have many cities, but for example, Osaka, where I live, it's 183 yen per hour, roughly $8 an hour. Some places are 840, 850, some places are 900. It averages from 750 to 850 for minimum salary, of course. Most people without qualifications work in factories. They normally make anything from 900 yen to 1,200 yen, which is $8 to $11, $12 an hour, normally. And truckers, if they work small trucks, normally they make the same as America, $2,000 to $3,000 an hour, $2,000 to $3,000 a month. If it's a small truck, if it's a big truck, $3,000 to $5,000, depends pretty much. It's a little different. So the difference in Japan, of course, people do a lot of overtime, and most jobs are in factories. Especially if you don't have qualifications, or if you come here as a student in a student visa, you can only work 28 hours a week. So you cannot expect to make a lot of money on it, Oh, this city here is Ono. You just come here in a different place today. So just take a little chance to record something different for you guys to enjoy while you talk about this issue. So salary, it's pretty much the same. Money in America and Japan, what people make it is not a really big difference. Varies pretty much from 1,500 a month to $5,000 a month. Depends on your qualifications and language skills, you know. And Japan, pretty much very similar. I wouldn't say there's a lot of difference between making money here or there. But that's all for money now, you know. Of course, there's a lot to talk about, but I want to give you guys like an average, you know, to have some idea how is it. Now, when you talk about the thing I want to talk about first about expenses, the biggest expense we always have in life, of course, most people have it. It's rent. Rent is a big chunk of your paycheck, so that's the first thing I want to talk about on this issue about cost of life. So let's start with Japan. Japan, in my eyes, is pretty fair when you talk about rent. Of course, I'm not gonna consider Tokyo or New York on these comparisons because it's not even fair. You know, it's both places are amazingly expensive. But let's talk about average. You know, average Joe here, average people, average rent. So, in average, in Japan, if you rent a small apartment, maybe 17 square meters, like a little room with a very small, a micro kitchen and a small bathroom, 17, 18 square meters. It's something it's very affordable actually. Something around a studio apartment, very small studio apartment, Japanese standard. It's anything from Sanjuman, né? Sanman, which is 30,000 yen, to 45,000 yen. Something between $280 and $400. For 1 to 2 people live, you know, if you work a lot, don't have much time, it's decent. It's not that bad. Of course, could be better, but it's not that bad. So, for a small apartment, that's that much. Now, if you want like a 1-bedroom apartment, in one little kitchen, it's something between 45,000 yen to 6,000 yen, 60,000 yen, which is something around $400 to $550. And when you talk about the 3-bedroom apartments, something between 45,000 yen to 65,000 yen, with something around pretty much $400 to $600, which is not bad for a 3-bedroom. Bedrooms. 3-bedroom apartments. I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes I messed up my English a little. So about $400 to $600, depends on the area. And if you wanna rent a house, normally houses go from anything from 50,000 yen to 80,000 yen a month, which is roughly $500 to $700 a month. Right now I'm paying 70,000 for mine, which is roughly $630. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a parking spot in Osaka. It's very decent for $630. You know, it's comparing to the money we make, I think it's pretty fair. You know, the only bad thing, like when you rent a place, normally they charge you a lot of money, so you expect to pay 2 or 3 months of rent ahead just to get the place. In this case, I spent over $3,000 to get my house. That was the only bad thing about it. But the rent price, it's great. You know, $630, very comfortable, very nice, with parking and everything. So that's how it is. Rent in Japan is pretty fair in my eyes, as I said before. Now in America, the last time I rented a studio apartment was a little bigger than these Japanese ones I had, but the area was in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Not really great. Back in 2001, I used to pay $450, but nowadays I don't think it's anything less than $750 or $800 a month for a New Jersey studio apartment. You know. Now, if you wanna go, let's compare to New Jersey, because New Jersey the prices are pretty much similar to New Jersey, Massachusetts, some areas of New York, not New York City, of course, but like Long Island. So if you rent like a 1-bedroom, one room apartment, $1,000, $1,200, Now if you rent like a three beds bedroom apartment, anything from 1,500 to $2,500. And if you rent a house in America, of course, not considering Florida. Florida is much cheaper. Georgia, some parts on the country, much cheaper. But every place like New Jersey, for example, my friend is paying $1,800 for the cheapest house he could find. 60-year-old house, really, really old house. And you know, it's triple than I pay for mine, basically. And we truckers here, I'm a trucker here, here's a trucker there, we make almost the same money. But he pays so much money for his rent. And it's not fair, you know. In this part, if you compare on rent, Japan kicks ass. Japan is like, wow. Blows my mind comparing to America. How expensive America has become, you know, to live there. Especially when talk about rent. You only pay affordable prices if you live back in the country, you know. And a funny thing about Japan, these prices I'm talking about is for Osaka, Nagoya, Hiroshima, big cities, big central areas, you know, like metropolitan areas. Of course, downtown is almost a little more money, but in Japan, if you live in the country or you live in the city, it's pretty much the same price. It's not a big difference. The difference comes on the next topic I'm gonna talk, which is cars. Cars, of course, is the second most expensive thing in life. The most expensive thing you have after rent normally is cars and healthcare, depending on the area. But let's talk about cars. In America today, I just talked to my friend in Jersey, and a gallon of gas is $2.80. It's not bad. In Japan, we pay about 140 to 160 yen, which is roughly $1.30 to $1.50 per liter. So basically, in Japan, gasoline is double the price. A gallon will be anything from $5 to $6, depending if it's regular or super high octane, they call it high gasoline. So yeah, Japan prices for gasoline is double. America still pretty cheap. Even used to be $1 when I arrived in America in '97. I think gasoline for $8 or 80 cents a gallon back in '97, '98. And I was seeing for $5 back on when Bush was in president. Really crazy. So sorry. Cars prices in Japan, I would say 20 to 30% more expensive to buy a car. Popular car, basic car in Japan, you pay about $11,000, $12,000. But it's like a very little car for 4 people, and the engine is 660 cylinders, very small engine, 3-cylinder engine. But it's very, for city, it's very nice though. Brand new, of course. $1,000, $2,000 can buy something decent. In America, probably buy a Toyota Corolla for about 14,000, so 13, 14,000 buy a Toyota Corolla brand new. So America prices on cars are a little better. And one thing is expensive in America, more like when talking about cars, insurance is way more expensive. I'm driving this, of course I'm driving a truck right now, but my car right now is a KG Dosha, which is this small light cars, 660 cylinder engine. It's pretty nice. It does roughly 35 miles with a gallon or so, 32 with a gallon. It's pretty good. 15 kilometers with a liter, so it's not bad at all comparing. And insurance, of course, I'm 40 years old, so I pay about $45 a month for insurance, like a liability insurance. So it's like not even $500, about $500 a year. It's not bad at all. When I was 20 years old, and I got my first car in America, I paid $250 for the car, but I had to pay $1,500 for the insurance. So 6 times the price of the car just for the insurance. Of course, age counts a lot anywhere you go. But still, in Japan, insurance is much cheaper. It varies on the size of the engine of the car actually, and your age and where you live. But because in Japan they don't steal so many cars, and there's not so many accidents like in America, because people here is a little way more strict to drive. It's very easy to lose your license in Japan, even if you get sometimes one traffic ticket. If it's like 20 miles over the speed limit, I don't say you lose your license, but you have to go to recycling and go to school and stuff like that. It's really annoying. So people drive a little more wise in Japan than they do in America. A little slower too. The highways are a little slower. For example, this highway, the speed limit is only 80 kilometers an hour, which is 50 miles an hour. Some places are 120 and 75, but not many. Normally the speed limit is lower in Japan, so even the roads are narrow and a little more dangerous to drive. There's much less accidents and deaths on the highway, and so insurance is cheaper too because of that. And also, but the bad thing about Japan, when you talk about cars, it's the parking. In Japan, there's a law from 1958 that no cars are allowed to park on the streets. Most places, it's very rare to find a place you can park a car on the street. Maybe some industrial areas, but you still have to be very careful because they give you points on your license if you park in a bad place. Especially if you just got your license in Japan, you have to be very careful, because if you park in a car you are not supposed to park and you get the 4 points in your license, you have to go back to school and do recycling. In the first year you get your driver's license. That's how strict these people are with parking in Japan. So when you buy a car, if the car is yellow plate, which is the Kijidosha, the light car like the one I'm driving, like the one I'm having right now, you don't have to prove your parking, but you have to have, of course, a parking spot. But if the car is anything bigger engine, even a Honda Fit or anything, it's yellow plate, you must have a parking spot. And for that you must rent a place, have a contract, go to the cops, show them the contract, show them on the map where your car is gonna be parked, cannot be over a mile and a half from your house. They have a lot. It's called Mendokusai. It's very complicated, but they do that so make people have smaller cars and cheaper cars, basically. So any car with a white license plate, you gotta do that bullshit. It's a little complicated to do it. So, but it's doable, of course. You spend some money. You can and if you live in the country, normally parking is free or $20-30 a month. But if you live in Osaka or Nagoya, for example, I used to pay $140 a month for parking, 15,000 yen a month just for parking, and I had to park my car 3 blocks from my house. Really annoying. Before I moved to my house now, of course, the apartment I used to live before. That's one of the reasons I moved too, because sometimes it's raining and it's very cold. You have to walk 3 blocks just to get your car. It's a little annoying. So that's how it is in Japan. And in Tokyo, forget it. Tokyo, $300-500 a month for parking if you have a car in Tokyo. But in Japan, of course, different than America, the public transportation is amazing. Of course, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, public transportation is very decent, very good. But in Japan, it's like perfect. The trains are always on time, and it's really, really good, amazingly good. So in this part, another thing that Japan has and America doesn't have it about cars. We have to pay every year yearly insurance, like property tax, but for your car. If you have a Kijidosha, a small car, the little ones, it's pretty affordable. It's probably $80-100 every year. But if you have a Honda Fit, for example, with the engine is like 1.3, you're gonna pay $350 every year just for the car insurance, the car tax, property tax on the car. And if you have a bigger car, like for example a van, similar to Dodge Caravan, for example, with a 3.0 engine, you're gonna be paying about $500 every year for taxes. And if you have, for example, a V8 engine car, Mercedes or a Cadillac or something like that, you can expect to pay anything from $600 to $800 every year on taxes. So in Japan you pay these taxes, but if you compare to the insurance prices and everything, it evens out. It's not much different. America is still a little better because America, the variety of the cars and the gas is so cheap, you know. I would say America is a little better on this issue when owning a car, especially because America is a culture of cars, you know. And Japan is not a culture of cars; it's a culture of public transportation, basically. So it's not that. Another funny thing about cars in Japan, you don't see many American cars, but you see a lot of Mercedes, just like that one passing by. A lot of Mercedes. Of course, Toyota is number one. That's the new Camry right there. Beautiful. Hybrid. All the Toyotas are hybrid, you know. Toyota number one in the world, and right now in Japan, of course, half of the cars in Japan are Toyotas. And Toyota's number one, then Honda, no, then Nissan, then Honda. So, and you don't see many American cars here, very few. Very hard to see a Cadillac, Chevrolet. You don't see it. Ford, I think Ford just quit Japan a couple years ago because they sold like 5,000 cars in a year. So they're really proud of their cars in Japan, and they buy national, you know, they buy their own cars, or they buy European. And they also have French cars here, Renault, Peugeot, Citroën, cars you don't see in America. You have way more French cars than you see American cars, actually, and even stores and the car dealers from the French distributors. There's some nice ones, actually, very nice ones. Kind of popular in Japan. No, of course not as popular as the Japanese cars, but comparing, I think the European cars after BMWs and Mercedes comes the French cars. So Japanese people kind of like those. So that's what it is about cars. Cars, America, I think still number one, you know, of course, for cars. Even, you know, especially to own a car. And here's, of course, if you live in the country in Japan, America is much cheaper insurance. But if you live in the big cities, really expensive. In Japan, it's kind of fair. Not fair for the tax, of course, but the insurance, it's alright. So kind of evens up, you know, almost. Now the third thing, food. Food in Japan is very similar prices to America. Actually, it's a little cheaper. For example, if you go to McDonald's in Japan, McDonald's is not as popular as it is in America, of course. But the funny fact about McDonald's in Japan, quality is much better than the American ones, because Japanese food, it's a very serious business in Japan, very serious. My wife even say, you know, in Japan, first you eat with your eyes, then you taste your food. Food must look nice in Japan. And that's even on fast food. You go to Japanese McDonald's, I wouldn't say them all, but most of them, the sandwiches, they actually look like the picture. And in America, the picture looks like something totally different than whatever you order. It's never even close. But in Japan, it's very similar, very close. Sometimes it looks just like it. They really try hard, especially because it's not so popular. And also McDonald's here, you can get like a Big Mac combo for 500 yen, which is $4.50. And I believe a Big Mac right now is about $7.50 or $8 in America. So it's like 40% cheaper, 30% cheaper. And the meat is actually better in Japan because it comes from Australia. So it doesn't have so many chemicals on the meat, you know. And even if you go to a Japanese fast food place, for example, Sukiya is very popular. They have a lot of vegetables in their food, meat, you know, chicken and with rice and some vegetables. For 500 to 600 yen, you can have a decent meal for $50 to $6, pretty much. Something similar if you go to America, if you go to a diner, you pay at least $10 for a meal similar to this one. So fast food and food in general in Japan, of course not all the food, but food you eat day to day, it's a little cheaper and the quality is much better, fresher. And my favorite issue, non-GMO. Japan banned GMOs on 1999. So there's no GMOs in Japan at all. So if you come to Japan, it's very safe to eat soy milk, tofu. You can eat with no problems, because I know in America, you guys are vegetarians. I have a lot of issues with this because all the soy in America is GMO, and it can cause cancer. Of course, you gotta do your research about this. I did some research and I'm really happy not eating any GMOs at all. I'm very good about that. Very happy about Japan on that issue. Now supermarkets, the variety is a little different in Japan. Japan is very seasonal, especially for fruits and vegetables. In America you find more variety sometimes because you have Mexico, all those Caribbean countries very close, so you can import a lot of fruits and vegetables, and even California, of course. And Japan, fruits and vegetables are a little more expensive, unless you get the ones from the country that is pretty cheap. Like a lettuce, you can buy nice lettuce for about $1. You can buy a huge, I forgot the name of that thing, for about $1 too. I forgot the name. It's very popular in Japan. But there's a lot of vegetables. They're affordable if you buy on the season. And like soft drinks, a little more expensive. Beer, a little more expensive, maybe 20-30% more expensive. But the quality of beer, because it's not GMO, is really good too. In Japan, you have beer from 70 cents a can. It's like a very cheap beer. It's okay, A good beer, you pay about $1.50, $2 per can. And wine, about the same price like for America, $5-8 a bottle, $20 depends the quality of the wine, of course. So food in Japan, I think food in Japan is better. But in America, if you like cereal, if you like ice cream, of course, the varieties are much bigger. You see in America, especially things you're not supposed to eat that get you fat. America has much better variety and it's really affordable. Cookies, you buy this huge bag of cookies for $1, $2. In Japan, it's small and like $1.50, $2. So basically, things that are not healthy in America are very cheap, and Japan not so cheap. So maybe it's the reason that less than 5% of the people here are fat. The Japanese people, because the way they eat and no GMO, and that's make much healthier people, So that's number 3 on my list. Number 4, entertainment. Entertainment, for example, last time I went to Universal Studios in Florida, I pay about $58 for my ticket. In Japan right now, the ticket's about $65. If you buy for one day, if you buy for the whole year, it's about $210. Last time I went to Universal in Florida, I pay $95 or $100 for the year pass, because I used to travel to Florida many times, so I used to go there kind of often. I really like theme parks. So theme parks, pretty much the same price, unless for the day it's pretty much the same, but if you buy the yearly, here is more expensive than in America. The yearly passes there are much cheaper. And restaurants in general, I would say if you go to medium class, not cheap but not so expensive, a couple can have a very nice dinner for about $30. Little better than a diner quality. $30, $20. If you go cheap, you can $12. 2 people can have dinner. It's not bad at all. It's kind of cheap. If you go to the fast, like sukiya, the Japanese, food, but like fast food kind of, it's pretty good. And beers in general and bars are pretty much the same. Now the difference, you may spend a little less in Japan because in Japan the culture doesn't require you to tip anybody. You don't have to tip the cab driver. You don't have to tip the waiter, the waitress. So they pay people a little better. Normally waiter they make $10 an hour, $12 an hour. So they give you very good service, and if you leave money on the counter, they come after you and they give you back. It's really funny because they don't believe in tipping. You know, they think they have to provide you the best. You don't have to pay extra for the best service, which is pretty good. That's something I really enjoy in Japan about retail. Anywhere you go, can be a convenience store or a restaurant, fast food places. People are always smiling to you. Good morning. Please come back. Have a nice day. In Japanese, of course. But they treat you very nicely. Most places, it's very rare for you to go in a place in Japan and they don't treat you like a king. And that's one of the reasons Japanese people, when they travel abroad, they get frustrated because they expect that level of service. And some countries is really bad. America depends on where you go. You know, some places are nice, some places are shitty. It pretty much depends wherever you go. But that's what it is. So entertainment, talking about video games, I like America better because I'm an Xbox person, so the variety of Xbox games is much better in America. Japan is very small. Japan is big on PlayStation and Nintendo, and America is big on everything. So I think when you talk about video games, America becomes a little cheaper, and the variety is much bigger. Japan is kind of closed to Sony and Nintendo, and I don't see many variety when you buy, especially when you buy used. Like America, you find like a brand new game like used already a little cheaper. In Japan, you don't find them like that so easy and so much cheaper. You know, games are a little more expensive in Japan. Also, DVDs and Blu-rays, CDs are more expensive in Japan. One of the reasons they give you more value for the artists in Japan. So normally, for example, in America, you buy a brand new CD for $15. You can expect to pay maybe $30 in Japan. Even Blu-ray movies, $40 sometimes, $50 sometimes. The value they give it to this media in Japan. And also in Japan, you're still finding a lot of places like Blockbuster. Not Blockbuster itself, but like Blockbuster, you know, they still have a lot of them. It's kind of funny though, but they still have it. Sutai, I think, is the name of the place. They have a whole lot of places to rent movies, and they rent CDs too. So that's how it is. On the entertainment area, America is a little cheaper and maybe more variety in many issues. And Japan, of course. Japan, they're more focused on food actually. Osaka is the kitchen of Japan. Come to Osaka and you really like to eat, man. You're gonna be amazed. So good. So good. Of course, Tokyo is also great. And so entertainment, that's what it is. Now next I want to talk about healthcare. In Japan it's not a big issue because we don't have we have something similar to universal healthcare. Then in America people are so afraid of it. They shouldn't, because if the government makes it right, it works really fine. Sadly, they made a lot of taboos about this in America. It's very sad. People tend to think about communism and socialism when they talk about healthcare, which I think is kind of stupid. Especially after you come to Japan and see how it works here, you'll be amazed. Japan, we have two kinds of insurance: the national insurance and the private insurance. I never had private. I always had national insurance. National insurance, if you just go to the city hall here or any prefecture and you want to pay for, normally it's something about 15,000 yen a month, which is about $135. And that they give you the card right away and you can go to the doctor, and it covers 80 to 90% of all your medical expenses, all, even medications. And the funny thing about this, for example, let's say you're in Japan and then you go to the hospital and you have to pay full price, which is kind of expensive too, of course. Healthcare is always expensive. So you pay full price, for example, and then the next day you go to the city hall and you get health insurance. You can just go to back to the hospital, show the receipt and show your insurance card, and they will give you back 80% of the money you spent. And I know this because I already did it. My wife did it once. She has diabetes, and we changed jobs, and we were without insurance for a few months, and she had to go to the doctor, and we spent like about $200. Yeah, about $200. And then we did the insurance with the prefecture and gave us the card. We went back to the hospital. If I'm not mistaken, they gave us back like $160, $170. Something like that. Was about 80%. I'm not sure about the amount, but it's pretty much 80%. Whatever we spent, they gave us back. And it was like a week after, we went there a week after and we did insurance, and they still gave us the money, which was very nice. But now if you have the insurance, which is based on your salary, for me, for example, I'm paying about $135 a month. My wife makes less money, so she's paying about $90 a month. And last week she went to the doctor and she did a checkup, full checkup. She did the diabetes test she has to do every month. Plus she did normally she spends $20 in doctor every month when she goes to the doctor. And she does the regular blood test and consultation. But then she did eye exam, heart exam. They took some x-rays from her lungs, all kinds of stuff. They did a full checkup on her, and it was $50. 45 actually. 5,000 yen you pay for everything, including the diabetes. So for $45 you can do a very nice checkup, and they're so organized because it's like this: the national insurance is only to pay for. The hospitals are private, and that's something I think people don't understand in America. The hospitals, if they do this, it's not gonna be government hospital. It's gonna be private. The government only gives the insurance, which is way more fair, because the insurance it doesn't want to profit from it. They just want to cover you. So it's pretty much fair. Now in America, you have to have this stupid private insurance. It's obligated, and it's so expensive. People pay $500, $1,000 for a whole family to have it every month. So much money. It's unbelievable expensive. If they did it like Japan, you'd be great. Japan, a family don't spend much more than $200 every month for health insurance. And if you have any problem, you go there, they cover everything. Even dentists. My wife just went to the dentist. We had a lot of people saying bullshit about this. Oh, if you go to the dentist, doesn't cover this and that, whatever. It's all bullshit. The only thing the dentist doesn't cover, it's if it's beauty. Like for example, if you have like cavity and you have to fix it, you pay $20. Like the first visit is like $40. And then you have like to go to 2 or 3 times, you pay like $20, $15 every time. If you do like regular, they do like a metal thing on your tooth, it's covered by the insurance. It's not covered if you do like something different, like a very beauty one, like with gold, or you can put like some kind of title, on your teeth. Then looks the same way a tooth looks, very nice. And that's like $1,000. That's expensive, and you have to pay out of your pocket. Insurance doesn't cover that. Also braces, I think it doesn't cover. But whatever is cleaning, root canal, anything is for healthy. If it's health reasons, they'll cover you. It's okay, and it's pretty fair. It's very fair. I think she paid the first visit. They took pictures of her whole mouth and X-ray and everything. It was like $40. Not even $40, maybe $35. First consultation, and now every time she goes there, it's like $20, $15. So healthcare in Japan, I can't say it's the best in the world, but it's really high ranked. It's really good and really affordable. It doesn't break the bank, you know. It doesn't break the bank at all. Like, you can't really go to the hospital. Everybody's healthy. Another thing, all the companies normally they make you do health checks every year. Like in my case, I'm a trucker, so I have to do every 6 months. Every 6 months you gotta do, but the company pays for, so you don't have to spend anything. But even if you have to pay from your pocket, it's not really that bad. It's not really that bad at all. So you can go to the doctor, you know. It's not like in America. Then if you go to the doctor and they have insurance, you have to sell your house, or even with insurance they charge an arm and a leg for it. You know, healthcare, of course people have to profit, but not that much, you know. It's kind of crazy in America. If you do your research, you're gonna understand the things I'm saying, you know. I respect everybody's opinion and just giving mine, but I think is wrong. The way America does healthcare is really wrong. There's a lot of things they can learn with Japan. So on this issue, Japan is number one, no doubt about healthcare. What else, people? Expenses. So I already covered rent, cars, healthcare, food, entertainment, travel in Japan. Japan, if you travel by airplane, it's pretty cheap. Hotels, not so cheap. Not so cheap like America. Normally you pay $100 for a room, $150 per night. But in Japan I also have Airbnb, you know, not so much because the kind of mafia in Japan, not letting everybody do Airbnbs the way they used to. But you still find a lot of nice deals on Airbnb in Japan. Half of the price you find in a hotel. If you travel by airplane, it's pretty cheap. You can go in Japan almost anywhere for $100. Most places $100. And if you travel by Shinkansen, the bullet train, it's kind of expensive. For instance, if you compare Osaka to Tokyo, that's about 350 miles. If you go travel by road, 6-7 hours. If you go by car or bus. If you go by airplane, is an hour, a little more than an hour, about an hour. If you go by bullet train, 2.5 hours. And if you pay by airplane, is $100. But if you pay the bullet train, is about $140, 135, 140. But it leaves you downtown. You know, the bullet train leave you like in the heart of the city. And if you take the airplane, you're gonna have to ride another hour in another train or bus to get downtown, because the airports are never too close to the city. I think it's about an hour by train. You take another subway or something from Haneda Airport to downtown Tokyo. So you're gonna spend another $20 for that. So pretty much it's more worth it depending where you go. Go by bullet train. Bullet trains are very popular in Japan. Another tip, if you come into Japan to travel, you should buy the JR train pass. There's a unlimited pass. You can only buy it if you are outside of Japan, so you have to buy in advance. You can take trains in Japan, including the bullet train, unlimited, from 1 to 3 weeks. 1 week, if I'm not mistaken, is about $300. 2 weeks maybe $450, and 3 weeks probably $550, something like that. $550. But you can travel everywhere, anywhere, anytime for this time. But you have to buy before you arrive in Japan. Buy online on the JR website. The JR is the main train company in Japan. Japan Railways. So I really advise you, if you come to Japan, buy that train pass. It's gonna really be worth your while, because you can travel all Japan, and the bullet train goes such amazing views, you know, and so fast. It feels like you're flying, actually. It feels like you're flying low. It's amazing. I'm gonna put, as soon as I have a chance to go on a bullet train, I'm gonna make a video and show you guys here how is it. It's such a nice Amazing technology. And they had this for over 50 years already, and they never had an accident with a fatality. They keep the train so nice and spotless and so safe. I think probably it might be the safest way in the world to travel is by bullet train. It's so good. So good. Now in Japan, if you travel by airplane, by car, it's expensive. Tolls in Japan probably are the most expensive tolls in the world. For example, Osaka to Tokyo, 350 miles, you're gonna spend at least $150 in tolls. At least. It's expensive. Very expensive tolls. And the highways in Japan, they're all paid, not cheap, and they are elevated. So they really put high in highway. The price, and they are all bridges. Sometimes you go in bridges for 10, 20 miles. All elevated. So nice. Very, very nice highways. So that's it, people. I think I cover pretty much, basic. You guys can have a nice idea how the expenses are in America and Japan comparing. In America, of course, just finishing this, the traveling, if you travel by car, is pretty cheap. Most places don't have tolls. Sadly, you guys don't have bullet trains. They have some nice trains there, but really low. There's some very nice deals too. You can travel all around the country for very cheap if you find the deals online. Airplanes also nice. In this case, America is a little better for the road trips. Japan road trips are expensive, but in comparison, you don't have bullet trains and you do, so it's kind of like a tie, pretty much like a tie on both areas. Both countries really worth it to travel, in Japan I've been most places, not most places, but I've been major places in Japan I've been already, and very nice places. America I've been to 43 states, so I really know what I'm talking about. Beautiful country, both beautiful countries, and I really advise you guys, if you can travel both of them, go everywhere. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Should do it. Always. Travel is always good. So once again, thank you guys for staying this long with me. I hope you enjoy this chat. I hope you're enjoying riding with Mellow. And please follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you have a chance, please click a like on this video if you like it. And please subscribe to my channel. And that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Mellow. See you next time. Peace.